Greetings, salutations, everyone. Welcome to AMCentertainment.com. This is Script-To-Screen, and I am your editor of Script-To-Screen. My name is John Candia. Welcome to the second installment of the Screencast here at AMC. I am joined this week by a couple of good friends of mine, actually, and guys who know their movies and know how to talk about movies. Chuck, first, is the guy who knows the movies. We're going to start with him. Mr. Chuck Norris is a good friend of mine. He is an editor. He's also an independent filmmaker. He's the director of the documentary Beulah, A Good Band is Easy to Kill, which you can find on Netflix. And so we are pleased to welcome Mr. Chuck Norris. Chuck, how you doing?
I'm doing great, John. Thanks.
And also joining us, the ones who knows how to talk about movies. He is a former producer of mine, actually, on another show I used to do. He's just a fantastic guy. He knows what he's talking about. I'd like to welcome Mr. John Green, a.k.a. Soul Video. John, how you doing?
I agree with all of that except for the knows what he's talking about part.
I just kind of threw that in to sound nice,
Thanks,
to be honest with you. And look, listen, guys, before we actually get started, we got a couple movie topics we want to cover. But before we do, I just wanted to let people know, if you are in the Los Angeles area, March 6th, AMC is holding its annual Oscar showcase. Now, if you've been visiting AMCentertainment.com, you know that since there are 10 nominees this year, they've broken it up over two Saturdays, the March 6th and the Saturday immediately preceding it. However, if you live in the Los Angeles area, on March the 6th, AMC Theaters, the AMC Block 30 in Orange, is going to be having a 24-hour marathon playing all 10 Oscar-nominated films. And I'll be there. I'll be hosting the event and introducing all the films, and it's going to be great. Make sure you check for the posts and the links of where you can buy your tickets. It's going to be a lot of fun. Now, with that being said, let's get into item number one. One of my favorite comedies of the last few years was a little treasure of a film, Forgetting Sarah Marshall. There are a lot of things that were great about that film, but one of the really sweet, wonderful parts, surprisingly wonderful parts, was the character that Russell Brand played, and which surprised a lot of people. He was great. He was wonderful. Now, we've known for some time that Russell Brand and Jonah Hill together were going to be doing another comedy soon, directed by the same guy who directed Sarah Marshall, called Get Him to the Greek. And although I kind of pride myself because of my job and keeping my ear to the ground on what's going on in the movie world, even though I knew this movie was coming out, that it was directed by the same director, that it's got these same two cast members from Forgetting Sarah Marshall, I had no idea until recently this is actually a direct Forgetting Sarah Marshall spin-off, as Russell Brand is playing the same character as he plays in Forgetting Sarah Marshall, as is Jonah Hill. Now, the trailer for it has recently come out, and we have it posted up here on AMC Entertainment. But I'm going to start with you, Chuck. You had a chance to watch the trailer. Number one, what do you think of the concept of this movie? And number two, what do you think of the trailer itself?
I love the concept of spin-offs in movies quite a bit, and I wish more movies did them. Too many movies have you say goodbye to great characters that you wish you could revisit or catch up on a few years down the road. That being said, I disagree with you. I didn't find Russell Brand to be all that engaging in Forgetting Sarah Marshall. As a matter of fact, I liked Forgetting Sarah Marshall quite a bit, despite Russell Brand. So, you know, in looking at the trailer, I'm finding this to be a seemingly fun movie, but nothing much more than that.
Soul?
Here's the thing. For some reason, I have an intense. I have an intense hatred of Russell Brand, and it's I feel like it's mostly unfounded, but even more founded. That
wasn't contradictory in the least.
And where that comes from is, I feel like if Dane Cook and Chris Angel sort of got together and somehow made an angry comedy love child, this is the douchebag it would spit out. And you slap a British accent on him, and I believe he's believable in the character he's portraying. So for the same reason that Campia sort of has it out for Michael Cera, and that and he's pigeonholed, and he can only act in this one way. The character Russell Brand is playing in this movie is the only role I will ever accept him in. He can only play the rich douchebag rock star. If he tries to be lovable or tries to in any way evolve out of that very narrow spectrum, I will have even more of an unfounded hatred than I already do for him. And part of it, and maybe it's jealousy, maybe it's not, but I don't know. I think it looks pretty funny. I think P. Diddy is, actually pretty believable and interesting. He doesn't, and he's not sort of visibly acting as hard as you think he would be. So, I'm looking forward to it. And as long as, and Russell Brand stays in his nice little douchebag box, I'll be fine with it.
I'm going to have to go a little bit of the opposite of you, Chuck, in the sense that I did like Brand in this film. I've got this thing where I wrote this article a long time ago called the 10 stereotypes I'm sick of seeing in movies. And one of them was, if the hero has a love interest and that love interest has a boyfriend, the boyfriend is a jerk. And that's what they do in every movie. And in Forgetting Sarah Marshall, they kind of went outside of that, and he actually turns out to be a fairly likable guy. The funny thing is, I have the opposite problem of you in that I did like Russell Brand in the film, but in Forgetting Sarah Marshall, but I did not like Jonah Hill's character in Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Not that I have any problem with Jonah Hill or his performance in it, I just didn't like that character. So I am starting off with not really knowing how I feel about them including Jonah Hill in this project. With that being said, it's still a spin-off of Forgetting Sarah Marshall. I loved Forgetting Sarah Marshall. I did really like the Russell Brand character, and so even though I'm not really huge on the fact that Jonah Hill's there, and I'm not really huge on the trailer itself, you can still mark me down as I'm going to be their opening night. I think I'm looking forward to it, and I hope it turns out to be even half as good as Forgetting Sarah Marshall is. With that being said, we got to move on to the second topic here. This weekend, the new Martin Scorsese, Leonardo DiCaprio film, Shutter Island, finally comes out. Now, as many of you know, Shutter Island was supposed to actually originally come out a few months before the end of 2009. And it feels like we've been seeing the trailers in theaters for 6 years.
Because we have.
Because we have, pretty much. And I mean, it's to the point now that I almost even forgot it was coming out this weekend. I'm just used to seeing the trailers. Seeing the trailers gave me no sense of its impeding release, of its release coming imminently soon. But it is coming out this weekend.
You mean a new trailer for it?
No, the actual movie. The actual Shutter Island is coming out this weekend.
I don't understand.
and look, it's Martin Scorsese.
Inception, right? It's like a guy in a hallway.
Yes, that's the one.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, it's Martin Scorsese. I mean, can we expect anything less than something really good? So I want to know from you guys. Number one, first of all, what are you hoping from this? Do you think this movie is going to be any good? What are your expectations of it? And Sol, this time I'm going to start with you.
Well, it's my understanding that studio executives can put Leonardo DiCaprio and Martin Scorsese in a room and throw in a film reel and a light bulb and and that's it. That's all they need. I think their track record is pretty solid on that. So I think that and it's got to be. It can't be a piece of crap. That's all I'm saying. I don't see it being able to fail. So does that set it up for an Uber fail? I don't know, but I'm looking forward to it whenever it comes out.
No, this is going to be great. Martin Scorsese's had an amazing decade, and I think that there's going to come a time, especially if the next couple of films that are in talks, the Sinatra biopic and maybe the Teddy Roosevelt biopic, if Scorsese and DiCaprio continue this quality of work over a few more films, I think you're going to have to start comparing the De Niro era to the DiCaprio era of Scorsese films.
Right, yeah.
And I have to say that, I mean, I love Martin Scorsese, possibly my favorite director. Over the course of almost 40 years, he's given the world some of the best movies ever, and he's consistently done that throughout his career. Now, he's had some ups and he's had some downs, but the three that he's had so far with DiCaprio have been among his best. So I'm looking forward to this. And also, the thing that I'm really looking forward to with Shutter Island is that it's a genre shift for him.